The one thing that, like, from a drummer's perspective that I don't love about Satisfaction, it'd probably be a totally different record if I used a China. And I was using the shit out of a China and Pushbutton and even Bloodbath. But I had sold my China. Or guess what?
That was a dagger.
Drugs?
Yeah.
Jamie. That was a dagger to his
Jamie,
heart.
I'm going to tell you something. Whenever, not if, time machine technology is invented, I'm going back and I'm handing you a crisp 18-inch Zildjian China. Hello, welcome. It's HardLore time. How are you, Bo?
I'm doing so well.
Me too. This is, to me, a landmark episode of the show.
Big one for you.
Big one for me.
Big one for me as well, but
big one for all. You know, I'm from Connecticut, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
We've got here one of my favorite drummers of all time, a guy that inspired me and many of my peers more than just about anybody. There's a very short list of hardcore drummers who defined the late 90s, which has now kind of come to define what modern hardcore is.
Right.
The man's name is Jamie Muckinhaupt, a.k.a. Jamie Pushbutton. Welcome, Jamie.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today. I really had to talk you into this one.
You did. I'm just,
I'm glad I did. Last night was my first time. I've seen Death Threat many times.
Same.
But I've never gotten to see Death Threat with the man that recorded the songs until yesterday. And like, I know just posting that video, the amount of like iconic hardcore drummers who responded it being just excited to say. There were guys who were like, I just watched this 5 times in a row. I can't believe it.
I watched it 5 times.
Couldn't believe it. So how does it feel just to play with Death Threat again? Something like last night, FYI, have you played many shows with Death Threat back?
But just about 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
It's you're still breaking in. You haven't missed a beat.
I'm the old new guy.
That's right.
So to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're right though. There was something, I don't know the name of the song off the top of my head, but it's just and that's a song I've known since I was a teenager. And seeing you play it, there was a moment of like, that's the guy.
Yeah.
He did that.
There's something about watching a band and they have a new drummer who doesn't do the stuff.
Yeah.
And if you've ever covered a song, you know what I'm talking about. You got to do the stuff.
Got to do the stuff.
Jamie, it was so nice to finally hear the stuff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be in warm
Orlando,
Florida instead of Massachusetts.
62 degree Florida versus 61 degree Springfield, Mass. Are you in Springfield?
Well, that's where I'm from originally.
That's right.
We live on Cape Cod now.
Okay.
The quad.
Great chip.
Yeah.
Those are good chips.
Good chip. So
Contrary to a lot of people's misconception, I am not from Connecticut. Never lived in Connecticut.
That's right. And we'll get into that.
They just needed you.
And
Connecticut
drummers
needed you.
The most valuable resource to a musician, to a band, is the drummer.
Yeah.
So Springfield, Massachusetts. Tell me about growing up there, how you found hardcore of all things.
I got into, it seems like everybody's pathway to hardcore is either through, metal, hip hop, one of those, but I kind of got into it through metal, I think. There was a head shop in Springfield, Mass. I saw the Iron Maiden banner and the Sabbath banner and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, what is this? And so I got into metal. I had a really close friend in Springfield that kind of introduced me to like punk rock, period, like in general.
What kind of punk were you into?
Sex Pistols definitely were huge.
So early stuff.
Gen 1
Gen
punk.
1.
Late
V1.
70s punk.
Yeah. Any misfits?
For some reason, I gravitated towards the British stuff. I don't know.
Of course. There's a the attitude.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I got really into punk. There was a old place in Springfield called the Zone Art Center that had, kind of college rock kind of bands.
Yeah. Sure.
That's where I first kind of saw people with mohawks. People,
You ever have a mohawk?
I did.
Really? Did you ever have a mohawk?
No.
Yeah, me either.
I wasn't brave enough.
No.
You know? Takes a certain kind of guy.
How old were you, like, head shop era, like around the time when you were like, I'm curious about music?
About 14 or 15.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
right.
So how far into that do you decide to start playing drums?
It was a couple of years. It was the same guy who introduced me to a lot of punk stuff. Also played guitar, or was learning guitar.
He tricked you.
We got a band coming along.
He
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
tricked you. He needed you.
And, just by default, I was kind of, well, I got to pick up something, and we already
Yeah.
have a guitarist. And so we would play old Sex Pistols songs, old Clash songs.
Cool.
Just stuff. It wasn't really until I met this guy at this place in Springfield, the Zone Art Center, which is definitely not a hardcore metal kind of venue.
Sure.
But he was Bruce's roommate, Bruce LePage's
Bruce
roommate.
LePage, 100 Demons.
So you
Push
guys
Button
go
Warfare.
that far back.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
You two go the furthest back, would you say, of anybody in that your like current circle?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Well, certainly for me, because I'm a little younger than Bruce.
Right.
So, but anyway, he was living with Bruce at the time, this guy Andy,
Right.
who owns a record store in Massachusetts now.
Awesome.
And Andy introduced me to a lot of music, but he introduced Bruce and I. And then, I used to go over there. And, I saw Bruce was fresh out of the Army, shaved head,
Right.
psychopath. And I'm,
You're a tall, Slenderman,
yeah, and I'm a
troublemaker.
teenager.
Yeah.
Looking for trouble,
Totally.
looking for new music, all that kind of stuff. And the world just opened up as far as music. Like this guy Andy was all about punk, like Poison Idea kind of vein. He was into grindcore, GGL, and all the stuff that was really kind of off the wall then.
Cool.
And then Bruce was just kind of still, I think, pretty fresh to knowing like what was what with hardcore. And this is like during the kind of like In Effect era of
Hell yeah.
New York stuff, like Sick of It All,
Yeah.
Raw Deal at the time, and
Good stuff.
and he started taking me to shows.
Bruce did.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Well, Bruce and Andy,
Wow.
both of them.
And is that still in Western Mass, or were you more in, like, had you relocated, or were you still in?
We were still in Western Mass. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had never really left Western Mass during my childhood or anything like that.
So how far into knowing each other? Because Bloodbath was not first, right?
Correct.
Were you in a band called Last Breath?
I was.
So Last Breath, the song, Jamie Josta did it again. He took the riffs from Bolt Thrower. He took the name from you.
I don't think he even, probably to this day, doesn't even know about Last Breath.
Really?
I mean, it wasn't really hardcore. It was more like, I would say, like a DC sound.
What a
at the time.
great,
Wow.
great name.
Yeah.
So you did it first.
What do they call that? What do the comedians call that? Where you tell the same joke, parallel thinking,
Parallel
some
thinking.
parallel thinking going along with that.
Wow. So Last Breath, was that your first band ever?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was.
How short-lived was that? Is that something I can look up and hear?
No, there's one song on an old Western Mass comp called Back Again
Cool.
that it's not very good.
Here it is.
He'll find
Sorry,
it.
Steven. I will find it, Jamie. So Bloodbath comes along. Bloodbath will eventually be known as Push Button Warfare once Bruce leaves, and then
Yep.
would come back. But tell me about Bloodbath. Is this first like serious band?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like having actual songs and thinking about recording. Like
Yeah.
in that sense, it was definitely
Yeah.
like the first real band.
And are they like Western Mass bands? Bloodbath and Push Button? Because I have a Push Button shirt that says Western Mass Hardcore.
Yep.
So in
All
your mind,
members of both of those bands, all Western Mass.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep.
interesting. So how does the Connecticut connection come? Just out of sheer geographical proximity?
Yes. It really comes from like just going to shows.
Yeah.
Around this time, we met Aaron and quite a few other like Connecticut guys.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time.
Absolutely.
Long before we were in any bands together, but just those guys used to come to Western Mass for shows, vice versa. We'd go there, and
Was there any kind of territorial beef at first, or was it kind of like, oh, those Connecticut guys are cool?
well, I'm sure you guys know, like back then, I mean, any kind of music like that was so few and far between. There wasn't a lot
Sure.
of territory beefs. It was
Right, yeah.
more like you size someone up,
Raider
but then you're
community.
like, yeah, you're all right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right.
So there wasn't like, fuck these Connecticut guys. It was like, this is Brotherhood, for no pun intended.
It would be back then. It would be more like fuck these metal dudes, or fuck these hippie people, or whoever it was. You know,
what time frame are we talking here? What year?
Like Bloodbath was around. Well, I think when we first started talking about it was like 89, 90.
Okay.
Damn.
So it was a long time ago.
Okay.
You were early.
Yeah.
Wow. So Pushbutton evolves out of Bloodbath.
And I'm sure I know Bruce has discussed this before, or kind of discussed the history of it.
Totally.
But this guy Andy is really the one who put Bloodbath together, and like put all the people in the same room.
So what's Andy's last name?
Crespo.
Andy Crespo.
And he runs a record store?
Yep. In Florence, Mass. It's near Northampton. If you've ever heard of
called?
Northampton. Mystery Train.
Mystery Train Records in Florence, Mass. Is that what you said?
No, I'm getting it wrong.
Mystery Train Records in Massachusetts. Check it out and thank him for bringing people
For
together.
all of this.
Yeah, but he was Bruce's roommate. Andy was Bruce's roommate.
Okay.
And like, you should start a band. I know Bruce talked about all this too.
Totally.
You should be a front man, because he's Bruce.
Yeah.
Sure.
A real person.
And I was kind of just learning the drums, and we knew Paul, who went on to be in a million other bands, Shadows Fall and everything.
Right, of course.
But he was in a local metal band called Threshold, I think, prior to Bloodbath. So we kind of knew him peripherally. And there was this guy, Carl, who was in another Western Mass band, Wishful Thinking. So anyway, kind of put us all together.
Now, in '89, are drummers as precious of a resource as they are today?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like reliable ones who could.
I mean, it just tracks,
Yeah.
because who wants to lug it around? Who wants to buy it? Who wants to? Yeah. It just,
I think I've kind of come to terms with it that it was kind of like a growing up. It was about space, like literal square footage to play drums.
Sure.
And like pure happenstance of if you had a place to play, you could learn. If not, you're playing guitar.
Yeah.
And that was my ace in the hole for getting in bands, was like my mom would put up with us playing in the basement.
Mom had the basement.
Exactly.
My mom let us play in the garage.
See?
That's
and
it's
Connecticut,
so important.
Springfield. You know how many incredible things were born out of these damn basements? You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. So, does Pushbutton and Bloodbath tour at all?
No. Well, Pushbutton, I guess you could call it a tour. I mean, a couple weekends.
Okay.
But Bloodbath never.
Interesting.
We played Hartford once. It's kind of a big deal.
Hey,
Like, that was like
do you remember where?
West Hartford Ballroom, I think it was.
Okay.
That was the first time actually that we like really hung out with Aaron and Brad.
In
and
West Hartford.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because we had seen them, but we were like.
That's
in there.
primarily where I grew up.
Is it?
Is West Hartford. Born in Bristol, because of ESPN. Thank you, ESPN. And then primarily in West Hartford. So that's very cool.
But just to give you an idea of the era, like Bloodbath would play with like Big Mistake. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Totally.
Just that era.
You guys were extreme.
Yeah.
Amongst everything else going on.
And even though by today's standards we weren't, too heavy sounding.
Still.
I mean, we had like more of a hardcore sound, I think,
For sure.
than like the punk sound that was around.
Yeah.
Totally. So what happens between Bloodbath, Pushbutton, and Hitting the Road and the Studio Hard with Death Threat and Hatebreed? What do we miss? What do I not know? We've only gotten to speak so many times. What I want to crack inside the mind of Jamie Pushbutton here.
Okay.
Tell me about you. What were you like? Causing ruckuses? Ruck-eye?
Yeah, I mean, without going down a super rabbit hole.
For sure.
I'm an only child. I kind of grew up without my dad.
Okay.
So I was just, tormenting my mom
Okay.
and looking for any trouble I could get into.
Yeah.
Sure.
And, without pointing the finger at him, I mean, Bruce was like the perfect lightning rod for that. You know what I mean? Like he was looking for trouble, especially once we get into playing music, going to shows, crazy dancing, all that kind of
100%.
stuff. You realize there's an outlet for that.
Absolutely.
The kind of anger and stuff. But as far as what happened in between, Bloodbath and Pushbutton, and then on to like, I guess bands that I'm better known for being in.
Sure. But one of them is your non-government last name, so I figured, we got to let people know.
Yeah. Again, I think Bruce kind of discussed the transition from Bloodbath to Pushbutton.
Sure.
And there was a couple different eras of Pushbutton, as I'm sure you know.
He comes back and he's in Pushbutton again.
Yeah.
It's a lot. you know.
But by the time Pushbutton was over, I mean, everyone else was going on to other things,
Sure.
So to speak. We Pushbutton played with kind of towards the end of our existence. We played with Hatebreed a few times,
Okay.
and of course we knew Jamie.
So who's playing drums in Hatebreed at this time?
I think Dave Russo was playing right before me.
And are you saying you got to get this guy out here? You got to put me in, or is Josh going, Jamie? He's talking to Bruce, being like, "What's your drummer's name? Is it
Yami or Yami?
Yami? Oh, it's my name. Oh.
My name.
So is he poaching you, or are you like, hey man, I'm available?
No, they approached me.
Okay.
And we knew each other.
So Dave is on Under the Knife.
Yep.
Okay.
Dave was on Under the Knife.
All right.
I don't. They might have had someone in between. You know, I mean, Hatebreed went through a lot of drummers.
I've heard of the guys they tried out after you, and what a disaster it was.
When would that have been?
Pre-Perseverance,
Okay.
right? Mm-hmm. Like right before recording Perseverance. Sean has told me many tales of drummers who couldn't do the 16th, where like these insane metal guys who would only go snare first, and Sean, not a drummer, would be on the kit showing them do.
Wow,
So pretty cool.
So
you were tough to replace.
You ever mess around with like a metal guuitar player who can't strum?
Yeah,
It's that.
they're masturbators.
It's
They're
that.
not-
They're
not riffers,
masturbators.
you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Now that I think about it, I think actually Nick Nickel P, if you know that name,
yes.
he was the drummer directly before me.
Okay.
But he went another direction.
What else? Yeah. What else was he in?
I don't know what else he was in.
Okay.
Probably another local Connecticut band before that. But
Nickel P.
So, they approached you and you joined Hatebreed?
Is Hatebreed first or is Death Threat first?
Hatebreed.
Okay.
Okay, this is fascinating. So I just got done a few months ago with over a month with Hatebreed, and I'm on a real Hatebreed kick.
Sure.
Probably for the next 30, 40 years. And I would love, like, when they approach you, obviously there are songs that had already been recorded and written or whatever that wound up on Satisfaction, but are you writing together?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't have any part of writing any of the stuff on Under the Knife.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
That was like that was their set pretty much.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
and like the few random comp songs.
Totally.
You know, like Conceived and
So was-
Severed and stuff.
Severed. Right.
Yeah. Was Empty Promises, that was you? Like, kicks and snare?
So we wrote a lot of the like kind of broad strokes ideas for Satisfaction. We wrote on a tour that Hatebreed did with Despair, like a summer tour.
Wow.
Whoa.
Like at random places, you know, we'd crash at people's houses and set up our gear. And, you know, Jamie had a lot of probably most of the preliminary ideas
Sure.
for those songs.
So you guys would pre-show just be writing Satisfaction every night?
Yeah, and then when we got back from that tour, we like actually spent some time in the
Sat down
studio.
and, what was that idea?
So
Yeah.
so they approach you. Is it instantaneous yes, or is it, because Bruce has told me, sorry Bruce, you told him I can't be in Pushbutton and Hatebreed. And eventually you were in Hatebreed and Death Threat. And Bruce is like, that broke my heart. But I get it. I mean,
Did you
listen,
say that?
you did.
Yeah.
So what's that process like? How mad is Bruce at you at the time? And what was the process like of just, okay, I'm in Hatebreed now?
Well, Pushbutton was kind of winding down.
Sure,
Like
totally.
we were all going different directions, starting other bands.
Right.
Or, you know, I guess wanting to start other bands.
Right.
And, you know, I hate to bring this up, but you have to understand that, like, this is all against, at least in Bruce and I's case, not the other Pushbutton guys
Yeah.
or Hatebreed guys or really anybody at that point. It's against the backdrop of getting really heavy into drugs. So not taking bands super serious, like it's something we love and love doing, and it's all our friends and it's what we've been doing.
Sure.
But not thinking about it like a business,
A business.
or
Career
what's
move.
the right move,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
at least I wasn't.
I'm playing music and I'm going to have some drugs. That's the perfect life. You know? That's what I'm set.
So maybe some of the decisions weren't as like linear as
I got you.
Okay,
Sure.
that makes perfect
Yeah, that
sense.
makes total sense.
So, Hatebreed, you get approached. Jamie approaches you. Jamie.
So actually, now that we're talking again, kind of coming back to me. So I went to I don't think it was with Bruce. But I went to a rave at this place, Pearl Street in Northampton, to sell drugs.
You ever been there, Pearl Street?
With
They still got drugs?
with the original singer for Pushbutton, Justin.
Okay.
And Aaron and Boulder were there.
R.I.P.
And we were playing them the self-titled Pushbutton
Okay.
CD before it had, like, this was before it had come out. And that was kind of my first time really, like, meeting Boulder and stuff.
Right. Intense
And
guy, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Never got to meet him.
Definitely. Maybe kind of Reach energy.
Oh,
If that puts
that's
it in
an
perspective
incredible
for you.
100%.
Interesting.
Reach, drummer for 100 Demons. Intense guy.
But in the case of both joining Hatebreed and Death Threat, or kind of forming Death Threat,
Right.
Boulder was pretty instrumental. And,
Wow,
and he didn't
really?
really ask me. He was like, "This is what we're doing."
Okay.
You
Yes,
know.
sir.
That sounds great.
Okay. All right. That makes a
So
lot
anyway,
more sense.
I think that rave, that hanging out, like he checked out some Pushbutton stuff, and I think the next time that they were kind of like looking for a drummer or looking to firm up, the Hatebreed lineup,
Sure.
that's kind of why I got the nod.
So you got both calls, the Death Threat call and the Hatebreed call, because of that.
Yeah,
This is
and just from
you're
generally,
talking drugs. This is drugs to me.
Yeah.
right
and,
now,
and
right
just
now.
from knowing each other, like
Totally.
from
Being
going to
guys,
shows and
being around the
being
way,
in the next
you know?
state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So your first task is a couple tours with Hatebreed.
yeah. Well, really one big one.
Okay,
and then
the one
a
big
whole
one with
bunch of
Despair,
weekends,
and then
all around the East
Satisfaction.
Coast. Yep.
And what was the attitude? This is crazy. This is insane. So you're going into Satisfaction. That is with Steve Evans,
Yep.
That's right.
friend of the show, Steve Evans. What's your mindset going into that? What are your thoughts on just the songs in general? Do you finish this record, hear it, and think this is really good?
Yeah.
Or are you like, okay, I'm gonna ready to record my songs and then I'm gonna sell some drugs?
Well, probably more use some drugs.
Use some drugs. Use some drugs. Are you doing both? Are you recording drums and using drugs same day?
Definitely.
That's fucking awesome.
The one thing that, like, from a drummer's perspective, that I don't love about Satisfaction, it'd probably be a totally different record if I used a China, but I had sold my China. Or guess what?
That was a dagger.
Drugs?
Yeah.
That was a dagger to his
Jamie,
heart.
I'm gonna tell you something. Whenever, not if, time machine technology is invented, I'm going back and I'm handing you a crisp 18-inch
Yeah.
Zildjian China as the ghost of
Do you think it would have been a kind of a
the
different
ghost
record?
of Christmas China.
Just the accents.
I've seen you use a China. I know I've seen it. You know, I know that one. I love that one. I've taken that one. So I now need to hear Satisfaction, Jamie's China version.
But musically, that's my only regret about.
Okay.
That's a fair regret because I would have never picked that out.
And I was using the shit out of a China and Pushbutton and
Right.
Yeah.
even Bloodbath. Like,
Interesting.
But I'll tell you what, I don't know that if I've ever noticed that there's no China.
I almost would have sworn there was.
but to answer your question, as far as recording that, as
Yeah.
far as like, selling off parts of the drum kit before recording, what was definitely my biggest.
So is Josta going, where's the China?
no,
He doesn't notice.
no, he didn't.
Which that shocks me because he's a detail-oriented
He is.
guy.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Or does he know and
But
he's like, I'm not going to
I
ask?
mean, he has a big hand in, everything,
Everything,
and
yeah,
always has. So I'm sure that was kind of a minor detail
Sure.
compared to.
Everything else going on.
Yeah.
The rollout of Satisfaction.
Let's just walk through the track. Let's
Well,
hear it.
I'm going to bring it back with Empty Promises.
Please.
So, but what I was asking before is the idea to do second-da-da-da, da-da-da-da.
That as a fill, foot only.
Yeah, foot only. Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard a guy do that before you.
But here's what's so cool, and the reason I bring it up is watching you play, watching how you did certain fills yesterday, was the same kind of I don't know drum language very much, but the same kind of style
Nuance.
as that fill, the nuance of that intro. I mean, a band covered that today. Earlier today. A band,
did they?
a band played that. Sorry,
was awesome.
I forget who.
Nothing but enemies from Scotland
Oh,
did it.
wow, that's lovely.
So
It's
pretty
I'm fascinated. I love knowing these little details. Was that being an intro fill to start this record? Was that your? What if I did this?
or is it just, hey, I need something there?
Well, kind of the dynamic that Jamie and I had with, because Hatebreed practices, that's a whole thing in the '90s. First of all, I would drive from Springfield to wherever we were practicing, which is always kind of
How many days a week?
Well, the point I was getting to is like, this is before phones and GPS and everything. Like I would drive there and they'd just not be there.
Oh.
If I could drive home and then I'd have a message on my landline and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So practices were pretty fragmented.
Sure.
Okay.
And sometimes it would be 3 of us. Sometimes it would be I remember distinctly hammering through some of the songs that would end up being on Satisfaction. Were just Jamie and I trying to work out like basic structure.
Yeah.
And he'd just be strumming some real basic stuff. So to answer your question, Bo, it was usually more of an idea, like, just do a fill here. Or
Okay.
fill this space with
So that's
something.
your brain saying, what's the Michael Jackson thing?
Oh, the Quincy telling the dude on Off the Wall, hey, I need you to do an iconic drum fill that people will remember forever. You have one take. And they just, okay, dude. Empty Promises is your
That's your.
rock with you.
That's just really me trying to like match what the guitar's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. It makes sense with the riff, but I wouldn't think, I wouldn't think to do that. And it's just an interest. I love knowing little shit like that.
Wild, man.
Well, that's, I guess, the double-edged sword of being
right.
self-taught is
True.
like you don't
Yeah,
think in a
True.
certain paradigm.
Like-
You're like,
So true.
Yesterday, I'm helping you set up your cymbals, and I forget.
my first drum tech ever,
It's right.
by the way.
And I forget. I've known you don't use a ride, but I forget that. And I pick up the biggest crash in there and say ride, and you said, I don't use a ride. His ride is a 16-inch medium crash, which is like, I play like a freak. My hi-hat is on the floor, but and that's because I'd only ever seen my brother play. I'd never been taught by anybody. And it's a New England thing, I think. There's
Do you ride that small crash, though?
The big crash I read.
Oh, I'm sorry. Big
Yeah,
crash.
yep.
You use it as a
big
ride. Right, but it's.
You ever use a ride?
Definitely, like on push button stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You just don't like it for Death Threat.
No,
I'll get you a
Well,
ride.
Peace and Security, I used a ride.
You did. It's all over that thing.
We need to take-
We
We need to take Lars's China away from him as his ride.
right.
Give you that China.
you that China.
Back in time. We got a whole plan.
I'm gonna get you.
We're gonna go in the
all kinds
future?
of symbols. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna go back. You're not gonna believe it. You're gonna look at me now. You're gonna be like, "You're the guy that gave me
all
the
the
crash
China."
on Satisfaction." That's unbelievable. All right, let's go down the track list.
Yeah,
Let's
please.
just get into
This is fun.
Burn the Lies, track 2. Any distinct memories of writing that song?
Well, that would be a situation. I think the little fill at the beginning.
Oh,
That was specifically like Jamie. Do this exactly.
Do
like,
rock with you. Again.
Whereas a lot of other stuff was like just kind of fill this
Sure.
space.
aha.
Sure.
Cool. Very cool.
This is unbelievable.
It's good.
one
I
of my
like this going
It's one
down
of
the
my favorite
track.
episodes of all time.
A lot of the, I mean, definitely like the Hatebreed stuff that they already had when I joined.
Yeah.
Versus the Satisfaction stuff.
Sure.
I mean, you've probably listened to it enough
yeah.
to know. But like a lot of the Satisfaction stuff was kind of a different style for me. Like especially the breakdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different style in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not, and it started and defined modern hardcore to me.
New subgenre.
But compared to like my style that came out, I guess, in Push Button.
Sure.
It was much different.
You were reinventing yourself on record as a
I
drummer,
guess you could say that.
yeah.
which
Right.
is wild. Burn the Lies is next. Before Dishonor next.
Which is the sample still gone? Off?
Sample's off. Sample's gone. We'll never hear it again. I've got it, but
Ah.
that's different.
And I think the challenge with all the songs that already existed before I joined was making them.
Making them yours.
Yeah, making them. I mean, kind of similar to what's happening with Death Threat because I'm playing like
True.
songs that were written after
Totally.
I was gone and
Ah.
songs from the beginning.
Right.
Try to make them sound somewhat cohesive,
Totally.
especially live.
Interesting.
Puritan-
While still honoring, obviously, what had already been done. Interesting.
Puritan is one of the most covered hardcore songs I've probably
We're just
ever
going to
seen.
skip before Dishonor?
No.
Oh, okay.
was
Okay.
just-
My
that
And
was
the
just-
most blatant absence of a China. Think of that.
Dun.
Crash.
Oh, wow. And Matt uses a China, I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah, he does. Is your crash a little broken on Satisfaction? Maybe.
Yeah.
So
You
like,
can
that's
see.
why
See that?
I've never thought that can't be a China. I've thought it was maybe a broken China.
Or yeah.
I wish I could tell you I had a sonic master plan for like anything that I've played on.
You went in to play some drums and then
with whatever I
little
had
high.
available
Yeah,
or
right.
hadn't sold or.
okay. Tell me about the snare. Is it the same snare on Satisfaction and Peace and Security?
Yes.
Wow. Now that is amazing.
It's good shit.
Superphonic.
The Superphonic. And you don't use it live because it doesn't crack enough?
Correct.
You're a pork pie man live.
I am.
And that motherfucker cracked last night. Let me tell you what. Anyway. Conceived through an act of violence. What can you tell me about putting this song together?
Well, that was already written when I joined.
Okay.
But one of my favorite songs to play.
100%.
For sure.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
And I think I kind of, it depends on which older recording you listen to, I guess.
Sure.
But like before the second breakdown, the double bass and stuff, like I think I kind of added that or changed it a little from how it was like on the Integrity split.
Sure. Afflicted Past.
Hum this one. I don't know off the top of my head.
Change your afflicted past.
Oh, of course.
Pretty much all fast, and then there's a breakdown at the end. Yeah.
Prepare for War. What do you got for me?
That's an old
That's a
Hatebreed
good
song,
song.
yeah.
Not One Truth, the first Hatebreed song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my personal favorite, which I know obviously was written
Him
before.
telling us that he got the entire bridge line from just the title of a painting was insane.
Oh,
Now-
yeah. I heard
The
that.
whole thing.
Not what you would expect, you know?
He was like, I saw this painting and took the whole thing. Pretty cool. Betrayed by Life. This has got to be a top 3 Muckinhaupt performance.
Because we got the catch.
I don't love that song.
Come on,
Oh,
man. What do you mean?
really?
Personally.
Chad and you're telling me you don't love that? What do you mean?
Just I mean, there's just not much complexity to it. I
What
don't
do
know.
you do?
Interesting. When
That's one of the most complex. That's one a young drummer hears that and goes, "Well, I gotta learn that. I gotta start there."
I guess I just meant like song structure wise.
Uh-huh.
But it's a drum track,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
When you do the cymbal catch, I remember it like breaking my brain because it's just a cool accent. It's a cool place to put it. Was that you?
Yeah.
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 This is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I'm having a great time.
I know it's I guess kind of common knowledge around the scene nowadays that Jamie's like pretty very hands on with everything to do
He's
with
the boss.
Hatebreed, but back then I mean it was he definitely was very involved in
Sure.
everything. It was kind of his baby from the beginning, but he gave me a pretty good amount of kind of latitude.
As the drummer, there's only so much you can coach. You
Right.
know, to a certain extent, it's like, why you asked me to play drums? I gotta play my drums. You know, makes sense. Mark my words, my God. Tell me.
Again, one I'm not as connected to, I guess, because it was already a Hatebreed song.
Okay, so how many of these were can you like Last Breath? That didn't exist until Satisfaction.
Right. Like Last Breath, Betrayed by Life.
Right. Burial for the Living was on the split.
It was on the
So
split.
you didn't play. Satisfaction is your first Hatebreed recording.
Yep.
And then your only Hatebreed recording?
Yep.
Wow. God damn.
I was in the band for about 2 years, but that was the only thing. It was just a timing thing,
Right.
I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Burial for the Living, we just talked about. Worlds Apart. Worlds Apart, Driven by Suffering, as 13 and 14. Pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Final rock block.
That was kind of different. I mean, that was a different style for Hatebreed at the time, too.
Mm-hmm.
You
Big
know.
time.
Driven by Suffering, they still play, and when the breakdown hits live, it's better than recorded in my opinion because they play the fast part so fast, and
That
then
the breakdown is-
and the breakdown is like,
But the thing that the and maybe this is like because it's not a modern hardcore drummer perspective on it. The that's like hip hop shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that where you're pulling from?
I think so. I mean, I like the thing that I love playing about drums, and I mean back then and now is just, I mean, getting people to hit each other, getting people to nod their head. Like that's
Amen.
what it's about. And you got to have like a pocket
100%.
to do that. You know what I mean?
Who were your guys, drum wise,
Yeah.
that inspired you?
Just in general, or hardcore, or
Mostly hardcore, because that's like I'm interested in the the genealogy of what you're doing.
Because you're a guy who changed a lot with what you did.
Totally.
So
with,
it's
with,
kind of
with
it's,
one record
Yeah.
redefined this whole thing that we're doing. So before
right.
anybody's going dad and dun, how do we get there?
Well, as far as people that I looked up to, I don't know that you can really hear a connection in I guess what my style became. But Mackie, number one, first and foremost.
Okay.
Like, you know,
The tallest drum thrower.
Tallest guy, he's standing up.
tallest throne.
Highest throne
Couldn't
ever.
do it.
But the amount of sauce that he had on things
Oh,
and,
dude.
and the pocket,
A sauceman, for sure.
True.
and especially with faster parts, like
Yeah.
I really, you know, super
100%.
keyed
A lot
on
of
that.
and like a lot of 16ths.
Oh, and that's once you stop them 16ths, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, he
very
he
important.
could have done that there.
Very
He
important.
should have done that.
Alan Cage was like huge for me when I get into hardcore. Quicksand Beyond,
Right.
You know, just taking fast stuff but making it something totally different.
Interesting.
I've been re-going through a lot of older bands that I hadn't checked out in a minute, and I recently got back into Beyond. And
Yeah.
the musicianship on Beyond's everything is
a lot of melody.
A lot of
And-
melody.
and a lot more melody than I expected from you.
yeah.
You a melody man?
What's weird is like, especially during like Pushbutton and joining Hatebreed, I was super into metal. I mean, Bolt Thrower, listening to stuff like that.
You can hear that all over
So did
Satisfaction.
that?
Yeah,
Did you have a connection with Jamie with that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, especially when we went on that first tour with Despair, I was relatively new to the band, and it was kind of like, you know,
What are you into?
pass the controller around to what, you know, who's going to listen
yeah.
to what. So
Yeah.
we were
Do
listening.
you have
to
a binder full of tapes and CDs or something?
tapes
Nice.
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody brought their tapes from home. Their tape
Wow.
collections.
I've never even thought about that. Isn't that funny? Wow.
So you're like, I got War Master, put it in. And
Yep.
Jamie's like, I got War Master. Don't worry, it's up here. I'm already.
It's already in.
It's already in. That is really interesting.
It's really cool.
But I was big into metal. Lombardo, obviously.
Yeah.
course.
He's the guy.
He's the king.
And I think like as far as playing fast parts, which every band I've been in has a ton of faster stuff, Lombardo would be like huge for me.
He's the gold standard. His right hand with the
Yeah.
ride
Yeah.
is like what we all big ride guy.
Right.
Telling you, you gotta
Big-
get one. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna get you a ride.
Big ride guy, but also the way he plays a fast beat has. What am I trying to say? It's drummer stuff. He plays it more punk than just a metal guy playing a
He's
fast part.
100% Misfits minded.
Yeah.
In the way that he's just going,
Yeah, exactly.
which is great.
It's
But when I was like learning the drums, I would say Mackie all the
Okay.
way through.
yeah.
You're a big Benante guy, right? Charlie Benante?
yeah.
SOD Benante?
SOD just
Yeah.
I think because they were even so much faster than like Anthrax.
Totally.
Yeah, I wasn't so much into Anthrax.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now I appreciate them,
Sure.
but at the time,
There's a rumor that he played on Master of Puppets. Lars didn't. It's a rumor.
It's a crazy rumor.
I don't believe it.
You could probably get that cleared up for us.
yeah, I'll talk to my sources.
Talk to your sources. Charlie, let us know if you're watching.
Would you? So you record it. It's out.
Tell me,
You do.
tell me about just like the initial reaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, great,
And, like,
yeah.
The reaction, hearing it mastered for the first time,
Yeah.
the band hearing it collectively. How does that
I remember
feel?
playing it for Bruce before it came out. Like we had, kind of a scratch copy from the studio.
That's a cool bit of
And
lore right
I
there.
don't think I really. I mean, I thought it was good.
But
You
it's
know,
your band, so you're like,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
your perspective might be a little off with your own band. You know,
Totally.
but he's like, Jesus Christ. At the time.
I think it's still his favorite. If I'm correct. It's Sean Martin's favorite.
Is it?
Yeah, and he played on most of the other ones. So, good job. So your thoughts are, this is pretty good. Oh, people seem to like it. Tell me about the day
But
it comes
you
out.
have to understand, like there were definitely some songs on Satisfaction that I think were broadening the sound of Hatebreed from what it had been.
100%.
Yeah.
So there was definitely an element of like, I don't know. Well, you probably heard Jamie talk about how Boulder was like, I don't know about this part, or I don't,
Totally. And that never stopped.
yeah.
Like that I'm sure that conversation is still happening in Hatebreed today.
So I
But
guess
I
it
Will
was,
Be Heard was the same thing
right,
where he
right.
was like, "Trust me," and then
Yeah. So I think there was a little like element of I don't. Are we getting too weird?
Wow.
You know.
That's fascinating.
And you would, and within, like, out of context of being in Hatebreed, you would never look at that now.
Yeah, you'd be like, no, that's the DNA of what we're listening to. Wow, how interesting. It's
a context thing, I guess, of what was going on at the
100%.
time.
How do you look back at it? Fondly?
Yeah, definitely.
Other than the China.
Other than the China.
How was the
It was really fast. I mean, it was the writing the songs was really fast. Recording it was really fast.
How long? Do you remember?
I think it was like 9 days of recording.
Like total.
Yeah.
9 days to just
Change the world.
That's crazy.
I mean, my part was, as I mentioned, I was into all kinds of other bullshit at the time. But, I just went there for the drums. That was it.
Sure.
I wasn't sitting in the studio while everything else was going on. It's like,
Oh, you weren't there for the rest of it?
no.
Okay. You clocked in, you clocked out.
And that was around the time that my son was born.
Okay.
So I wasn't, I couldn't hang out in New Jersey for a week.
Right.
Yeah, you're busy.
What was working with Steve like at that time?
It was great. That was by far the most legit studio experience I had at that time, because every other band I had been in that had recorded up to then was, like Zeus recorded us on an 8-track, which is cutting edge technology.
Wow.
At the time.
Yeah.
But being able to hear yourself and
Insane.
hear all the imperfections.
Still can't believe it. You know? Wow.
What was the record release like?
Madness. So as far as what you were asking about how it was received,
Yeah.
Obviously back then stuff didn't circulate as quickly.
Sure.
So when we would play anywhere outside of Connecticut, it took a while for people to, I guess, get to know the songs.
Sure.
But in Connecticut, that stuff had been leaked to friends and, give it to the Grippos.
So
and,
God.
people knew the words and
You
stuff
gotta
like
give
that.
it to the Griffos.
So, it was really well received in Connecticut. Obviously. Hometown boys.
Yeah, 100%. Can you tell us about the record release?
Yeah, I mean,
it's fame.
Pushbutton played.
Legendary.
I did a double duty.
Really? So you did it?
Yeah.
Was that like?
That was like maybe the second to last Pushbutton show.
Was that planned? Like, okay, we're winding down because I'm
No,
doing it.
it wasn't planned, but it was kind of going on. It was headed that way.
Gotcha.
Sure.
And Hatebreed was kind of picking up momentum as that was winding down, and
Big
it was
time.
just
So it just
again
made
not
sense.
intentional, but
yeah.
just how it worked out.
Writings on the wall.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a double duty show. I can't really tell you much about it. I mean, it ended in a giant riot.
Yeah, that's all we've heard.
A lot of shows did.
Everybody says can't tell you much about it. Trust me, but yeah, it ended in a big riot.
Well, I mean, you know how stuff goes. Like,
course.
You don't
It's
necessarily
chaos
know
in the
what
moment.
started it, and then what was a retaliation to what,
Sure.
and stuff like that. I mean,
It was during the Hatebreed set that it started.
yes,
Remember what song?
I don't.
It's probably.
And I mean, there had been a handful
Probably
of
Betrayed by
similar
Life.
blow-ups leading up to that
Sure.
at
Yeah, of
shows.
course.
I mean, we were kind of waging war on any venue that tried to, control how you dance or.
Which that was what he told us. The whole ethos of Hatebreed was that him and the boys couldn't mosh for Fugazi.
Yeah.
So they started
Right.
Hatebreed.
He started
Right.
Hatebreed. It's
That's
the coolest thing ever.
Pardon this interruption, please, but trust me, it's so important because your life is falling apart, your body's falling apart, and AG1 is the only thing that can help you at this point.
Do you just come up with that like off the top of your head?
Yeah, if I stop now, it's gonna leave forever.
Sorry,
So
go for it.
you know what else will leave forever is your health if you don't take care of your body. So why don't you start every morning with a scoop of this nice little green powder, 16 ounces, 12, even 12 is fine. Cold water. You shake it up, you suck it down. You know you're gonna have a better day. You're gonna may feel more energized than if you had a cup of coffee.
Let me ask you, can you do that on an empty stomach, Colin?
100%. You should.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's the best way to start our day. We do it every day. We feel that it is providing us the proper nutrients that we've been missing our entire lives as touring musicians, as traveling guys.
And let me ask you, where can I order this?
You can go to drinkag1.com/hardlore. That's right. New year, new URL.
And what?
Try it now, please, God.
What do I get if I use that link in particular?
You get 5 free travel packs, a year's supply of vitamin D and K. And you're gonna have to check for yourself because I'm hearing there's some new goodies for you on there.
Wow.
So please go to drinkag1.com/hardlore. We love working with them.
Mhm.
We love drinking what they got. Our bodies are green on the inside. It's beautiful, metaphorically speaking. Don't sue us. This episode is also brought to you by Manscaped.
Manscaped, baby. Woo!
2 years running. This is a Manscaped show.
Straight up.
We smell so good. Even right now, we're in the privacy of our own homes. Balls are emanating floral goodness. Floral balls is what it's all about.
Don't know how to respond to that. There's a myriad of Manscaped products that I use every single day, from the body scrubber, which is, I decided, is my actual favorite. Exfoliates, feels good, makes me feel clean. Made out of silicone.
And you pair that with the body wash. You pair that with the crop cleanser. You're clean in ways never before imaginable.
You can,
Imagine going back time and giving Ben Franklin's nasty ass the Manscaped box, you know?
watch out for the syphilis. Hook them up with a lawnmower.
Wash your balls. He would have lived forever, and who knows how many more presidential terms he would have lived to serve.
Damn it.
You know? It's unbelievable. And you could be just like Ben Franklin if we went back and gave him Manscaped. If you go to manscaped.com/manscaped.com and use code HardLore, you're going to get 20% off and free shipping.
Men Franklin, dude.
More like Manscaped, Franklin.
Straight up. Whew.
This episode is also brought to you by Mad Vintage.
You guys, listen, this is fucking serious. Colin and I don't have room.
Yeah.
You have to go to Mad Vintage and start buying your shit. And
We're gonna work with him as long as he wants to, and God willing, we've got one closet each.
we're sick in the heads mutually. And listen, I know you don't have room in your place either. You know what he's doing? He's buying stuff. Get in contact with Mad Vintage, MADD Vintage on Instagram.
He's gonna give you a fair price for that old shirt you don't want anymore, and then I'm gonna buy it from him. Bo's gonna buy it from him, etc. It's gonna be great. If you watch the show regularly, you know what we're all about. You know what we listen to. He's got it for you.
Straight up.
Okay.
Yep. 100%.
Hardcore, metal, punk, movies, hip hop, everything in between. Check it out. You're gonna see something you've been looking for your entire life on there. And you're going to want 15% off, trust me, because it's probably expensive. So use code HardLore15 right now. I'll wait. Back to the episode.
So you hit the road pretty hard on Satisfaction? You personally?
No, I never really toured on Satisfaction. We played just before it like physically came out, and shortly after it physically came out. We did a bunch of shows, you know, I guess you'd say locally, but just Northeast.
Right.
But I never went on a tour for Satisfaction, so to speak.
And why is that?
Well, because I quit.
You
quit. I not formally. I did. I just like ditched them.
Really?
Wow, really?
Can you
We got
walk us
offered a
through
tour. I think it was when Entombed.
And I would imagine you'd be fired up about that. Was that just too much?
Well, I was strung out.
Yeah.
I couldn't even think about, you know. I mean, you can't go too far from where you can get drugs.
Okay.
Sure.
Basically. And so I just kind of like quit answering the phone.
Wow. Just straight up.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm pretty sure Boulder wanted to kill me.
That tracks. A Reach-like personality.
Because they finally found, like, I mean, at least, you know, all the bullshit I was doing at the time aside, I was, you know, I'd make it to practice, I'd make it to shows.
Sure.
You know, maybe I wouldn't have my China, or I would have sold something, but.
You got that snare.
Yeah.
That's impressive. You still got that thing.
I do.
So,
Yeah.
excellent work.
Wow.
You're going to have a ride into China very soon, courtesy of me. So, you
But
leave
I didn't get to, I guess you'd say, like, really.
enjoy the spoils of your work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
We played some great shows.
Yeah.
Immediately after it came out, or you know, as it was coming out.
Man, you know, I would love to see that. If we can make that happen. Just a couple songs, you know? Is that too much to ask, Jamie?
Matt?
Matt? Yeah, I know he would love to see it too. Sean?
I've only met Matt once.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
Great
Yeah.
guy.
Very nice guy.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So did Sean join the band while you were still in it?
No, after.
Okay.
Interesting.
I knew Sean was in 100 Demons
Right.
at the time.
Higher Force.
Right. And
So 100 Demons had already been existing. I don't know the timelines all that well. I didn't realize 100 Demons had already been existing.
yeah, 100 Demons joined or formed shortly.
Higher Force kind of evolved into
Yep.
100 Demons.
And that was right around the time that Death Threat got formally got together.
Just it's the ever
It's-
giving meme of the Father, Son, Holy
It's
Spirit.
unbelievable, man.
Hatebreed,
It's
100
very
Demons,
like-
Death Threat.
Incestuous.
100%.
Yeah,
and
it's
I,
amazing.
growing up, like I hear about this firsthand. The Grippos, I'm sure you've heard the story at some point, but like they inadvertently got Taylor and I into hardcore by just leaving because
Yeah.
they went to high school with our older brother.
Yeah.
Just left tapes and CDs around. So the first things we hear are Western Mass stuff, Grimlock, and the Holy Trinity of 100 Demons, Death Threat, Hatebreed. And like I don't know any other bands. And turns out I barely need to, which is nice. But just Connecticut is this weird
Yeah, you would never figure it.
special place where just like the most violent music, and in Springfield, Mass too. I'm not leaving you out. I know you never lived there, but you're part of it. You know,
Yeah.
you're part of the
you're-
genealogy of the greater Connecticut.
And Springfield's like
It's right there.
it's I mean, it might as well be Connecticut as far as
Exactly.
proximity.
Exactly. So you ghost Hatebreed. You're like,
Yep.
I got shit to do. I'm busy. Death Threat's right down the road though.
So while I was still in Hatebreed,
Right.
because I quit both bands basically, I ghosted both bands basically at the same
Wow.
time
But Death Threat
because
said
of where I
no,
was
no, no.
at in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
But after I had joined Hatebreed, Aaron had the idea for Death Threat since we first met him, or probably even before, like in '89. You know, his brother was drawing artwork for Death Threat before it
Right.
was even
Whoa.
a band. But Boulder, once again, kind of approached me about being in Death Threat, or forming Death Threat, like kind of, more
Sure.
formally.
So you're OG Death Threat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We
OG
wrote
lineup is Aaron, Boulder, Jamie,
CJ. and
CJ. Wow.
Larry.
Okay.
Larry
Yeah.
Dwyer.
Of course.
So we wrote the demo with really no plans to do anything else. We played on that for a while. Then we wrote Last Days. Eventually Peace and Security, and that was kind of going on concurrently with me being a Hatebreed,
Right.
which I don't think Jamie liked as
I can see
Death
that.
Threat picked up traction.
I could see that.
Sure.
It became like more of less of a
A
project
local
and more
thing,
of a real
local
Yeah.
phenomenon.
yeah.
So you quit both bands, but you don't quit Death Threat for too long, apparently.
No, I quit Death Threat because when I quit both these bands,
Last Days was already recorded.
yep, and
Okay.
Peace and Security
What?
recorded. Yep.
When was that recorded?
98,
So it didn't come out for 2 years.
like a year and a half. It didn't come out. Yeah.
2000.
Wow.
That's fucking crazy.
I wasn't. So once I quit these bands, I moved to Colorado.
Okay.
That's kind of the next
That's
chapter in the
chapter
story.
3.
But I didn't play any release shows for Peace and Security. Like I recorded it, and I think we played a couple shows like as it was coming out or going to come out.
Right. And you've got this whole other life with drugs at the same time.
I got a lot of lives.
A lot of lives with a lot of drugs.
I mean,
at
I
the
have
same
a
time.
life of just having had a child.
Right.
And I have a life of being a drug addict.
Right.
And a musician and
Right.
carpenter.
Hell of a carpenter. I've
So,
heard.
yeah, I obviously didn't do the best job juggling any of them
Sure.
at the time, but yeah, so I wasn't around for anything to do with Peace and Security, and honestly, that's a lot of the reason when I finally did move, when I got out of prison, finally moved back, that Aaron kind of put together the reunion shows with the original lineup,
Right.
because he's like, I want you to be able to see what the
Yeah.
stuff that you were involved in meant to people.
And how did that
Yeah,
feel?
how'd that feel yesterday?
That was unbelievable.
It felt incredible, yeah.
It was really cool. The particularly like the rock block, the last 3 or 4 songs was like, I've probably seen Death Threat, I don't know, couple
15 times?
dozen times. Yeah, a lot of times. I've never seen it like that.
Yeah.
Not like that at the end. That was amazing. Felt awesome. It made me very
Well, I mean,
happy.
those guys, I know that I played on the records, but those are the guys.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Yeah.
The journeyman.
yeah. I mean, they're the ones who put in the work to have a reaction like that. You
Of
know,
course.
I can't claim that.
Of course. But like I'm sure they in a way are as maybe more excited than we are to have the guy that wrote the songs with them.
Yeah,
play
it's
them.
great to be. I mean, like I said, I've known Aaron forever, almost as long as Bruce.
Wow.
So
Can you tell me about so Peas and Security's recorded in 98, you moved to Colorado. At what point do you go to prison?
so move to Colorado might be a
That's
nice
the
way to put it.
euphemism.
I see.
I see.
More of an escape to Colorado.
I see.
Because without going into
Sure.
a ton of dirt, I mean, I had burned every bridge that I had.
Right.
I was starting to burn bridges, in the scene by bailing on tours, bailing on shows, just being unreliable.
Sure.
And the girl I was dating at the time was like, I'm done with this. I'm going to live with my parents in Colorado, and I didn't really have any options. So that's how I ended up in Colorado.
Gotcha.
So in Colorado, is that where you go to prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I went there. I moved there on a couple days' notice, knowing no one,
Wow.
with a drug habit, with the, kind of faulty addict thinking like, change geography and it'll take care of your problems.
Yeah, right,
Which,
right.
of course, it didn't. I found dope immediately when I got there, and escalated, and within 6 months of being there, I'd been arrested twice.
Damn. You were going to make it happen no matter what, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's impressive, honestly.
Well, if nothing else, I'm persistent.
100%. Wow.
Yeah, so I got 2 robbery charges in Colorado. Got sentenced to 20 years.
20 years.
Yep.
And obviously didn't end up having to serve 20 years.
No. Fortunately, in Colorado, if you behave,
Right.
you only have to serve half of your sentence, and then if you take part in certain programs, you can kind of work your sentence down.
Right.
If you're not a knucklehead.
Were you a
And
knucklehead?
No, not at all.
That's right.
I made a pretty conscious decision once I realized I could get out when I was 50.
Sure.
Oh,
time.
sure.
The
Yeah.
age I am now.
Yeah.
You're looking damn good, let me tell you what.
Thank you.
Of course.
Is that when you got clean as well?
I got clean almost immediately after going to county jail. I had to, before they send you to prison, you're going through all the court stuff,
Yeah,
and you
all
have
the
to be in
stuff.
county jail.
So how brutal is something like withdrawal in a county jail?
It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's terrible, and that's why people like myself that's why you go to the extremes of not having to experience withdrawal.
Sure.
Because it's fucking terrible.
Sure.
But for me, I mean, to kind of wrap it all up,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with this. In hindsight, for me, getting locked up, best thing to happen to me.
Force you to get clean.
Yep.
Force you to have a perspective on what
Having
you're
said
doing.
that, I wish I could have learned that with a 2-year sentence.
Yeah.
But you don't. I mean,
Right.
you don't unless you have that come to Jesus moment.
Sure.
Yeah. How long did you end up serving?
7 years. 7 years in prison, and because I had a violent crime, I had to go to a halfway house for 2 years, and I had to have an ankle monitor for 2 years, and I had to, there's all kinds of progressive steps down to eventually freedom.
Sure.
So
What's your plan getting out?
I didn't have one.
Okay.
Important note, though, I mean, not to get too into the incarceration.
No, please. I would love that.
And I don't want to, create any controversy with bands I was in and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But people like Bruce and Aaron, I didn't talk to them all the time. They didn't send me money all the time, but they were there for me. We would talk when we could. We would write letters when we could. I never heard a thing from the guys in Hatebreed, never. And in hindsight, we were bandmates, but we
Yeah.
weren't friends.
Right.
And whereas with the other guys, like there were friendships there,
Right.
and friendships that I'm very fortunate to still have today. So it's kind of a distinction for me.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, of course.
But
And that makes things like yesterday make even much more
Yeah,
sense.
Totally.
and mean
Totally.
that much more. Yeah. Wow.
and I get it. I mean, I wouldn't fault anybody in any band for being like, this guy just fucking bailed on us.
Bailed on.
Have
yeah.
you you spoken with the Hatebreed guys since much at all?
Yeah, a couple times. Well, I wasn't in Hatebreed with Sean at the
Right.
same time, but
But you knew each other.
yep. And actually, his wife helped us buy our house when we first moved back.
Jessica Martin.
Dude, the best.
If you are in Connecticut or Massachusetts, I think even New York now, Jessica Martin, realtor, unbelievable.
So shortly after I got out, there was I think it was like Sounds of the Underground tour or something came through Denver, and I was actually able to go out without an ankle monitor.
How
on.
did that feel?
And Shadows Fall was playing, so I wanted to go see Paul, who I hadn't
Sure.
seen in a million years, and of course Hatebreed was playing, but I didn't have a way to really get in touch with them.
Right.
So I went and I hung out with Paul, and I found out where Hatebreed's bus was, and I kind of came around the
You
corner.
surprise him?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I met, Frank and Matt and BD, who I obviously
course,
already
yeah.
knew. And I talked with Jamie for a little while, but I mean, he kind of looked like he saw a ghost when I came around the corner of the bus. Like, oh shit. I didn't know
Whereas,
you were-
like, I mean, they've grown. I'm sure I've since then as.
So in prison, you could have MTV2 on your.
So you were
you're seeing it.
Yeah, so I'm seeing him host Headbangers Ball. I'm seeing the whole Live for This XXX thing blow up. Dudes are asking me about my tattoo because I have, I hit the tramp stamp.
Do they believe you?
Well, at first, before Jamie was on, before Hatebreed was like, kind of a household name.
Yeah.
Guys would hit me up in prison, like, is that a crew? What does that mean? Like,
It's a band, I swear to God.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not like you. It's a band.
But after that all blew up, definitely people were like, oh, I guess you must be a real fan of theirs. Stuff like that.
No.
Actually not anymore.
Wow.
Wow.
I played drums in prison too, which was.
Tell me more.
Yeah, no
Jamie.
kidding.
Well, they had a music program. You had to, behave well to even access it.
Which prison was this, if you don't mind me asking?
I was in a few when I started because I had a violent crime. You start at a higher level, and you kind of work down.
Mm-hmm.
But I was at one in Colorado called Lyman, and they're all just named after the town they're in, basically.
I've heard that the Boulder prison is like the nicest prison. This is a hilarious thing to talk about.
But you can go basically, and they have like church bands that'll play little songs.
Sometimes Metallica.
Sometimes
Fire.
Metallica.
Do they have a China?
No, they didn't.
Fucking bullshit.
No. I should have asked the warden for a
Yeah,
China.
it's Warden. Come on, man. I didn't get one on Satisfaction. It's my biggest regret.
Listen to
please.
what could have been.
Yeah,
But
please.
it was really cool for my mental health to be able to do that
Absolutely.
even once in a while.
That's awesome.
just
It's
to get the chops up, you know?
well, it's cool to me that like, even though you're totally clean now and you have a different perspective, this is still something that like you're passionate about. That you want to do that feels good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Any absolute shredders in the Colorado prison system?
There's some really great guitarists.
I bet.
There's some talent. Whatever you're talking about in prison, there's incredible artists.
Savants
There's,
of all kinds.
people with nothing but time on their hands.
Right.
Wow.
Perfect whatever their craft is.
Yeah, how other than drums, what was your time, your day to day?
Yeah, take any classes or anything?
I took college classes.
That's awesome.
Yep. So that was really, because that's your biggest enemy is like filling the time constructively and not falling into bullshit.
Because is it just as easy relatively to get drugs if you needed to or wanted to?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So it's still right there. So really, you're making.
So even though I kind of, I guess, kicked it, the physical part in prison.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And
Wow.
when I first went to prison proper from county jail, the guy that they put me in the room with was bringing dope in through the visiting room.
So you're having to make a conscious choice at this point, every day, basically.
Yeah.
Which-
although once you kick the physical part of it, it is more of a mental game.
But it's arguably, I could be talking about my ass. It seems more difficult because you have all this time.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Right.
Wow, that's crazy.
But 90% of the drama in prison, violence and fist fights to stabbings to whatever, is about drugs or some kind of gambling debt.
You gamble
So so right away I'm like,
So you're doing yourself a favor
Yeah.
Exactly.
in multiple ways. Yeah.
you get out of prison and you're like Captain America coming out of the ice, What do you do? What's the first thing you do? What's the first thing you eat?
Ooh.
What are new hobbies you pick up?
So when
First thing you eat.
That's huge.
I got locked up in very early 2000.
Yeah.
So
So PS2 was like
So
unreal.
cell phones weren't even really
Oh, man.
Yeah.
prevalent.
Right.
I mean, you'd have the giant ass one in your car,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Hello? What?
So that took a lot of getting used to.
Sure.
Self checkouts terrified me. Like at the halfway house, the first time I could go to the store by myself, I distinctly remember it. I could like walk to the store, unchaperoned, free, to get deodorant,
Right.
and like
I gotta do this myself.
there's 800 kinds of deodorant.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
in prison, you get one. You know what I mean? So I was just, I don't know. It was just like
Was everything overwhelming?
overstimulated.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
How do you know?
What did you like?
Why is this cash register talking to me? You know, shit like that.
Just the world. I mean, are there bigger advancements in technology than 2000 to?
Well, it's like Brooks. He saw
Yeah.
a car once
Right.
before he went to prison, then he
Right.
gets out.
Yeah, bro.
R.I.P.
Do you recall the first thing you ate after you got out?
Well, when I was at a halfway house, they pretty much feed you.
Okay, they cook
Yeah,
for you.
it's kind of like prison where there's a chow hall and they feed you stuff like that. But I think the first thing I had was a Carl's Jr. because that was close
Really?
to the halfway house.
How
Just
that hit.
smash
I
a
know
burger.
that.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that would hit really well.
But honestly, no matter what you ate, just being able to pick it for yourself.
Totally.
Insane.
is
Yeah, that
huge.
tastes
Yeah.
better than anything.
So you don't have a plan getting out. What is your life like for the next year or two?
Well, I got a job almost immediately.
Okay.
Because you have to. At
You
the
have
halfway
to,
house.
right?
They kinda-
And is carpentry something you? How do you get back into that?
Well, so one of the last facilities I was at, like prison-wise, as they step you down through the security levels, you get more freedom to get on a work crew or do different things. So I had a maintenance job that was like light carpentry, repairing drywall, fixing shit that people mess up in their cells. So I kind of kept those skills fresh. I read about it a lot. You know, my family would send me subscriptions to like trade magazines that,
Cool.
because I was doing that stuff like all through when I was in bands.
Right.
That was how I made a living.
Yeah, right.
So when I got a chance to get a job, that's just what I went back to. And yeah, I just started working. Really, my big goal, which really wasn't in my control, was to be able to move back east because that's where almost all my family.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you know, that's not up to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could have gone.
It's
But
up to the wife now.
Yeah,
I've
right.
been on the run forever. So.
How long before you were allowed to leave the state?
2012, maybe.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why it took me a while to meet you, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, and that was only like a heavily supervised, like this is where you're going,
Right.
this is when you're coming back.
Oh, okay.
I was still in the system, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Where I
But you
couldn't-
got to go see family, see friends.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And so the woman I was dating that precipitated moving to Colorado in the first place, we had a daughter
Ah.
who was born after I was locked up.
Wow.
So I got to spend some time with her
Beautiful.
when I got out because she was still in Colorado. And then by the time I was actually free and could have moved to Mass, she was getting ready to go to high school.
Okay. So you want to be there. For
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
like the worst possible time to leave. But I
100%.
also have a son here. So anyway, we worked it out where my son could come visit and could go visit them and
It's great.
try to.
And how are your relationships now?
I would say under the circumstances, they're really good.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
I mean, that's literally the best you could hope for.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were some rough patches and a lot of like awkwardness of, like an implied relationship, but you actually don't really know each
Yeah,
other.
sure. Of course.
I would.
But
see
the effort, I mean, the effort after all that is huge.
Yeah.
Do they prefer Hatebreed or Death Threat?
They don't give a shit about bands I was in. I
Are
don't
they
think-
into
What are their
music at
names?
all?
John and Ivy.
John and Ivy, if you're watching, you got to make a choice today. It's Hatebreed or Death Threat. Okay.
Are they into music at all? Or
Oh yeah, big time.
Awesome.
They're both super into music, and I think, they appreciate that.
Musicians?
Mm.
My daughter played the piano a little while. She's a pro skater,
What?
Like
Yeah.
skateboarder?
roller skating, like
Awesome.
That's
trick-
incredible.
X game trick
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff,
So
like half
Wow.
pipes.
inline. Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
That's a very Western Mass.
Well, she's in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yep.
But the blood is Western Mass.
Yeah,
The
yeah. The
Western
blood-
Mass is right
It's in
here.
the blood.
Wow, that's awesome. What's your son all about? What's he into?
He was in the. He joined the Marines. He came and lived with us in Colorado for a little while, and was kind of bouncing around join in the Marines. His mom didn't want him to, but he did. He was in there for 6 years,
Okay.
and now he's a bail bondsman in Connecticut with a bunch of other Marines. So if
Wow.
you don't show up for court, these guys come and
They come and get
hunt
you.
you down.
The GI
I imagine
Joes.
they stay busy too. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they work in like Hartford, Bridgeport.
Hartford. Wild West. Living in the middle of Hartford is I did
Yeah.
that. I was there for a while.
Yeah, I was finally able to move back, and it was kind of, my daughter got to be a teenager, and
Yeah.
like they don't want to hang out with their parents.
Yeah, of course. But
And my mom is also kind of, as this is going on, getting older too, and she's in Springfield, so my wife and I moved back.
beautiful. When was that? When did you end up going back?
When we moved back here,
Yeah.
it was like a couple months before COVID or before the
Oh
pandemic
wow!
started.
Holy
yeah.
shit!
Wow.
We-
Pressure cooker.
We bought our house, and
Jessica Martin.
and Jessica and Sean took us out to celebrate, and the waitress came and said, like as we were having dinner, they're shutting everything down. Like that night.
Did you not get to eat?
No, we smashed everything.
Okay.
We ordered
Yeah,
like
that's what fuck-
everything we could get.
I was gonna say Sean Martin was not. He's like, I'm living here with something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yo.
We ate and drank, and
What the fuck?
although we didn't have any idea of how
Yeah,
Of course. I distinctly remember having conversations with you, with the
Yeah.
band being
There
like,
was a show.
6
there was
weeks,
a Rotting
8
Out
weeks,
show.
we'll be fine.
There was a
Yeah.
Rotting Out
Yeah.
show on like March 12th.
Yeah.
A lot of people got sick at the Rotting Out show.
You don't say.
March 12th. Wow.
But then we moved back to get back to the music thing. We moved back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Started doing some anniversary shows. I think that's the first time I met you was
Yes.
in Philly.
This is hardcore, right?
That was for Death Threat?
Yep. And
So-
that was with the original lineup.
And who approached you about doing that?
Aaron.
Aaron, so you're back, and Aaron says,
Well, actually, we did a couple shows before I moved back. I was
cool.
still in Colorado, and we just kind of met in the middle.
yeah.
But then we moved back, and it was kind of more of a frequent thing.
Where was the first one back?
That it was
This is
This is hardcore.
2019.
How did that
yeah.
feel?
Nervous. These guys are watching me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't help.
Yeah,
That-
I
that
guess
was
last
when-
night was not the first time.
That was when you
Did I
met him?
just lie? Did I just make that up? I've seen you do it before. I'm saying.
Whatever.
I probably did the same thing I did last night, where I was just me and my brother are watching. So I'm
Was
sorry.
that so? That's when you two met. Was 2019?
Yeah,
This is
that
hardcore.
was that day.
I went and watched Dayz the Lord practice. That was
You
really,
did.
That was really cool.
Sorry, man. Yeah, I'm stealing all your stuff all this time. That was probably like, what the fuck is doing? All this
I
stuff?
think
Oh, where'd you get that China?
because we played Harm's Way played that year, but I think we played the night before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
we played a fest in Montreal the next day. We had to leave immediately, so I didn't get to see.
Got it.
Mackie also played that night.
Yes, he did. Big night. Big night for us. You know. So, what do you have plans now to do? Any kind of new music?
Yeah, actually, we've been talking about writing some new Death Threat stuff,
Yeah.
which is probably time. We're been
For sure.
playing the same songs for a while.
Yeah, but when it comes to a certain point, that's allowed. You know.
Well, although half the songs that we played last night are relatively new to me,
Totally.
as far as playing them. So
How is that? Are you like, damn, these are good?
yeah, I love them.
That's
they're
awesome.
they're so like they're a lot different.
Yeah.
Question for you: when you were locked up, were you keeping up with music? Were you listening to hardcore or anything? Or what were you able to get your hands on?
As much as I could. MTV2 was like my main conduit to the world.
I mean,
It makes total
ours
sense.
too,
Yeah, ours
kinda.
too. That's literally we talk about it all the time. That's like how I saw Type O for the first time.
Yeah.
So I was watching like new metal really blow up. So I mean, like musically, especially for hardcore, I missed the 2000s.
Sure.
Yeah.
Basically.
Which some dark times.
Yeah,
in the
that's what I hear.
2000s for
yeah,
hardcore.
yeah, some dark times.
When I got out, Bruce, almost immediately when I got to the halfway house and could have stuff, Bruce sent me a loaded iPod with like everything that I missed. So it was like my first time here in Death Before Dishonor and I don't know, just all these bands that are,
Man,
classic.
That's a beautiful thing, huh?
it's a good friend.
Riding my bike to work, just have my mind blown
Yeah,
by all
just
this
years
music.
and years of
Wow.
hardcore to catch up on. Wow.
Curated by Bruce.
We're
Yeah,
curious
right.
about, and he's got his ear. To
He's
the
got
ground.
his ear to the ground.
Yeah.
It's true.
Are there other bands of like modern era that have jumped out to you as something you would have liked?
Oh, yeah, tons.
Okay.
Tons.
Nice.
But I have this weird delay with music because of that time I missed. You know,
Totally.
like I'll hear something that's 15 years old and it's relatively new
this
to me.
hot young band is awesome.
Right.
Oh, they're all gone.
And then
Okay.
just the volume of new bands that is
There's
out
a
there
lot.
now.
I mean, it's
like
too many.
There's
overwhelming.
I feel like there's more now currently
Than
than
ever.
absolutely.
But you can't ever go wrong with like, you know, trusted friends recommending you stuff.
Yes.
That's
Totally.
that's a good way to start.
100%.
With.
Could I trouble you? Could you tell me your 4 favorite hardcore records of all time? I know.
Take your time.
The ones that made you, you know, the first things that come to mind.
I'd probably have to say Cro-Mag's self-titled
Age of Quarrel.
Age of
Quarrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Bomb on the
Bomb.
cover.
Yeah, the bomb.
Cro-Mag's Bomb album.
Um,
100%.
just because of, I mean, context of what I heard, it
Totally.
fucking blew my mind. Killing Time Brightside would be huge. Like, again, context. And I mean, that's what like Bloodbath and eventually all the stuff that got built onto that
Yeah.
was trying to sound like.
When you hear, how do
Yeah.
you as a drummer not go, this is what I'm
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. This is kind of a slept on deep cut, but for me it was huge. Starkweather Into the Wire.
Whoa. Start.
I'd never heard anything so
That is
evil and
dude, it's dark sided,
yeah.
but like beautiful.
Mm.
And that's again, there's that melody coming back because that guy's an incredible. That guy can wail.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
One more.
It probably, especially saying this as a drummer, Poison Idea, Feel the Darkness.
Great dude. Love that record.
And that, I mean,
It's all time.
that's one of the ones that you remember hearing for the first
Yeah.
time.
And that motherfucker is Dr. Phil. He is doing
Yeah.
fills every like 10 seconds. There's a it's unbelievable. Yeah, that's one of my favorite records ever. Those are great answers.
Those are just off the, I mean, I could probably,
Dr. Phil.
I like the reflex though.
Now I just hit a
I'm gonna do a Phil. So something I want to know, Jamie. In prison, many people find religion, spirituality. Is that something that you ever dabbled in?
no, I can't say.
So as a non-religious man,
I didn't know where you were going with this.
do you believe in ghosts?
No.
That's right. See?
No.
You've seen terrors, the explainable terrors, I suppose. And
Man-made.
horrors. So you never seen any? You never had a conversation with Pete Morrissey about specters and the occult? And
No, I've had a lot of conversations with Pete, but never about that.
you should ask him about it. You might end up feeling differently. You know, you never seen nothing. You never heard nothing that made you second guess that.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Interesting.
How about
I'm not superstitious, so I
Yeah.
tend to, try to like put some kind of logic to it, and
Yeah.
and
The other night at a family thing I was at with Taylor, there was a little guy, 3, and he was pointing at a dark room and going, wasn't really verbal yet, and pointing, and the whole family was like frozen, like, what's he pointing at? What is he doing? And I got up and looked, and there was like a little LED candle. Like he just wants.
It's just beautiful candle.
And I just
He was
held
like,
it to
"This
him,
is
and he
gorgeous."
went and touched it, and that was it. It was a perfect. It reminded me of you so much.
You're full
You're
of
that
shit.
kid.
No, I'm the candle.
Do you believe in aliens?
Now you're talking.
No.
No,
Colorado.
you don't think they exist?
Straight
If
up.
you don't see them in Colorado, you're not seeing them.
That's true.
well, I'm just very. I mean, obviously, there's a ton of unexplained kind of stuff like that. But I mean, both paranormal and aliens. But
Yeah.
I mean, I got to see something to.
You got to see it.
Okay.
You believe what you see.
Are you open to it?
I'm open to
You
it.
open to the
Yeah, okay.
experience?
I think that's the logical.
Much like Santa.
Yeah.
Come on, like I'm waiting. Give me some,
Please.
Santa, aliens, ghosts. If you're watching, pay
Demons.
Jamie a visit. Okay, demons.
Make
don't.
me a believer.
Yeah, make him a believer, please. So during your brief touring tenure as a journeyman around the country, did you ever tour internationally at all?
No. Recently went to and played in Europe for the first time.
Wow.
Last year with Death Threat.
How was that?
Incredible.
Where'd you
Loved
play?
it. Revolution Calling, Eindhoven.
Eindhoven.
Yep.
One of my favorite
Love it
cities
there.
in the entire continent. It's
And
beautiful.
my wife
there.
and I spent a week there and just kind of
It's really
Did
nice.
some tourist stuff.
They really like Americans there.
Yeah.
World War II.
And their English was like, "Hey, Jamie, really
Yeah.
nice to meet you. It's me, Hans."
Yeah, it's really good to meet. Yeah, I love it there.
Recently went to Canada for the first time too, which as a felon is
Tough.
no
Tough to
no
do.
small
Tough to
feat.
do.
Tough
Yeah.
to do.
You don't
How
need
was
to go.
that?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
great.
Cool.
Great. We went with Guigon.
Okay, you had a good agent that day at the border.
Yeah. Well, we paid a hefty
They're the
fee
fucking
for an
worst,
immigration
man.
lawyer, and
Bullshit.
I hate border agents.
It's
so
easier to
much.
go to Eindhoven
Yeah.
than drive 4 hours.
Where'd you go to?
know?
Toronto or Montreal?
Montreal and Quebec City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Montreal is
Montreal's pretty cool.
death threat country.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Yeah, how
all
was the show?
It was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Blast.
beautiful.
I don't think they had played up there in a long time. So
Nice. Throughout your touring tenure, when you're not, and feels such a silly question to ask you. Are you a food-driven person at all?
not really.
Not really. You're a
Really?
skinny guy.
Yeah,
you
I'm a
know?
skinny guy.
You've been skinny your whole life?
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
pretty much been this weight my whole life.
Really?
Good for you, man. I've been that weight a month ago. I've been 250. Can't
What-
stop.
But even so, as this is difficult for us because we are the most food driven individuals. I imagine there's still something where you're like, "God, that sounds good."
What,
Oh, yeah,
what
definitely.
gets you going?
Yeah.
What gets you skirting off the freeway? I need that.
As far as stuff you might find on tour.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah,
kind of
we,
thing?
we like to ask. We call it the Golden Arches question. We're going to rebrand that, I think. But we like to pretend there's a place somewhere, wherever you are, that just has anything. It's magic.
Well, I'm a huge breakfast head.
There we go.
Okay.
I'll eat breakfast 3 times a day.
Yeah.
If it came to that. So
Is that like eggs and sweets or egg and steak? You know?
more savory than sweet. Yeah, I
Nice.
don't eat a lot of sweet stuff
Okay.
usually, but
Skinny.
yeah,
Skinny.
That's how you stay that way. I've learned.
So anything like a Cracker Barrel, Bob Evans.
Oh, dude, Bob
You
Evans.
love a Bob Evans.
The home fries at Bob Evans.
That's a place that I've avoided at all costs.
You should.
A Bob Evans.
It's good.
Really?
Yeah, it's good.
Denny's has a special place in my heart because when I met my wife after getting out of prison,
Yeah.
we used to kind of go there because she was working nights and I would work during the day, and we'd kind of meet there when we were dating. And
Yeah.
Now, were you out of prison for the Hobbit franchise coming out?
yes,
Did you get to enjoy the Hobbit menu at Denny's?
yes.
Unbelievable.
Wow, really?
Okay.
That's the first time.
You didn't miss anything. you got the Hobbit menu. You're doing fine. Don't worry.
How do you
made
feel
it
about
just
Waffle
in time.
House?
I love it.
Yeah.
we're gonna go smash it while we're
Okay.
here.
That's
Yeah.
the best of the best.
That
I
is
would
the best
say.
one, in my opinion.
There's one right across the street from our hotel. So.
Okay.
Perfect.
And it's dinner and a show, because you're going to see something insane.
Although Death Threat, we went to Perkins this
Oh.
morning, just because we don't get that in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I'm
We
not a
have, we
Perkins.
have,
It's not.
no, it's not great. We have that up by me.
I'm not a Perkinsman.
No.
Not a Perkins.
I'm a Waffle House guy.
100%.
Yeah.
Last question would be, can you tell me about being on television?
Yeah. So when I got out of prison, I had a couple construction jobs.
Right.
Eventually, once I was free,
Sure.
I got a job for a deck company in Colorado, which did some really, really cool stuff. But the owners of that company got approached by, how big reality construction DIY
Reality
stuff
in
is.
general is just like a never-ending multi-billion-dollar. I've worked in reality TV for a long time.
Yeah. But the
I've seen
owners got approached about, because they do pretty unique, like over-the-top.
Decks.
Yeah. I mean, they're more like additions on the house. So they'll have, an outdoor kitchen in them, and they'll be fully glassed off and have a fireplace and
So it's
heaters.
art,
Yeah.
but
So in
functional
Colorado, the idea is that you can use your outdoor space all year,
Uh-huh.
basically. So anyway, they got approached by one of those networks to do a pilot, and I was a project manager at that time. I'd kind of worked my way up. So they filmed my crew for 3 seasons, which is like, I don't know, ended up being like 18 projects for us.
Right.
Whoa.
And the rank and file guys who were doing the work, we didn't get paid anything extra. We didn't really get asked if we wanted to do it. It was more like, this is what we're doing. It's a good
see.
move for the company.
I see.
But after the first season of it, which was like 8 projects, they kind of ran out of work locally. And so we started traveling to do that. So I went to Louisiana and did one. I went to Snake River, Idaho to do one.
And what was the show called?
Mega Decks. It's somewhere. It's like on Amazon. I think you have to pay for it now.
Okay.
I'm paying.
But after three seasons, they just, I think the reality TV crowd's attention span is pretty shitty.
Oh, the bubble is the the shittier the better, and that's too good. That's highbrow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's highbrow.
But
Top
as a
shelf.
tradesperson, and also like as the guy who was responsible for getting these, because there's like real customers paying money for these jobs.
Uh-huh.
I hated it because it made their jobs take longer.
Totally.
These people didn't sign up to be on a TV show,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
and they didn't get they just had their backyard
They're
torn
not
apart
getting
for a lot
SAG
longer.
minimum.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that kind of ran its course, and we worked for that company. My wife also worked there in the office.
How did you guys meet?
Well, she worked at a restaurant in downtown Colorado Springs, which is one of the few that was like in driving distance to. Because that's the other thing you can't do in a halfway house until you've gone through is like drive a car or have a
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
So I was like walking or biking
Yeah.
everywhere.
Right.
So anyway, that was one of the few places that I could go, and I knew another hardcore guy who went into that place all the time, and so anyway, I just met her and we just started talking. We were both playing fantasy football at the time, so we went to Denny's and to play fantasy football. We were kind of just making puppy eyes at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Beautiful.
She's
It
from
is.
Texas, so I mean, I probably never would have met her if I had stayed in the Northeast.
See, everything happens
beautiful.
for a reason.
Yeah.
And
And
the
then I
Hobbit.
drug her
menu.
back east with me.
And you got to enjoy the Hobbit menu together.
Yes. Yeah.
As long as that.
She would be coming off work, so she would be having like, a nice a Sunday or something,
Okay.
and I'd be having
The
breakfast.
Pancake Puppy Sunday. Unreal.
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one.
No.
They still got it.
Do they?
Yeah, it's pancake balls of pancakes
Or like Hush Puppy.
over
Got you.
soft serve ice cream with some fudge.
That sounds
To
amazing.
check that out.
You got to check it out. You might not like it, Slender. But, Jamie, I've had a blast.
Yeah,
just
this
now.
rocks.
This is one of my favorite conversations I think we've ever had. Are there any kind of final thoughts you would like to leave us or the people at home with?
Well, I appreciate you guys, listening to me rant.
Of course. I'll do it anytime.
This is the first podcast or really interview that I've ever done. So
Awesome.
it was fun, and I
Thank you.
definitely kind of had it built up in my head a little bit because, I mean, some of this stuff just feels like a lifetime ago.
Sure.
Of course.
Obviously, but I enjoyed it.
Great.
So did we.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can't believe Peace and Security was recorded 2 years before it came out. And we just glossed over it. Can you tell me about recording Peace and Security? You got your China back.
I did. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep.
That's only a year later or something after Satisfaction.
So, yeah, it was about a year
Sorry,
after.
we can go another hour right now.
That's fine.
Terror starts in 15.
Okay.
We got this.
So we recorded that in Stoughton, Mass, at the Outpost.
Okay.
I think Blood for Blood recorded there.
Oh, okay.
And that was really only my second time in like a real studio because Zeus recorded Last Days.
Right.
And the Death Threat demo.
And was Last Days like 8-track situation again? Or
Yeah.
wow. It sounds fucking
Oh no,
awesome.
actually, Last Days we recorded in Buffalo because we
Okay.
stayed with Vogel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
Can I ask you something I've always wondered about Last Days? Where did the SDS chants, where was that recorded?
Webster Theater in Hartford.
Really?
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Was that like just at a show?
Yeah, it was a Hatebreed and Earth Crisis.
See, this is what I want to know. This is the stuff I
And
love.
they we used to have a kind of a roadie friend of the band Hatebreed, a guy named Big Mike who passed away.
Okay.
But the staff at the venue was trying to kick him off the stage, and so
Is this the big room?
yeah, the big room.
Interesting.
Yeah. They were trying to kick him off the stage.
Yeah.
And he was a huge guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was a lot of them. So once we saw that, everyone just kind of just turned on him. And for me, being a drummer, I just stopped playing. And the quickest way for me to get to the action was to jump over the drum set, like off the drum set. Which these guys are huge. They were bigger than Mike.
Totally.
And but I don't know. I just launched myself at him. But anyway, after that scrum kind of resolved itself, everyone, like all our friends, started the SDS chant.
That's one of the coolest nuggets we've ever got.
That is unbelievable. Last Days, Peace and Security, Satisfaction. 3 of my favorite records ever. Speaking to the man that on the kit behind them, Jamie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Truly an honor. Appreciate you.
I'll do a big reach.
You made me who I am as a drummer. You've inspired many. You will continue to inspire many. And now they get to know you a little bit better, and so have I. Beautiful thing. Thank you all for watching. See you next week. Bye.